Coming up tonight, health officials say a complete lockdown recommendation is not off the table, while an outspoken minister dismisses the rumor. Plus, air traffic controllers vent their frustrations. And later, a coconut vendor gets help paying his $800 fine.
Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Jared Higgs. Topping news tonight, Ministry of Health officials confirmed another 30 cases of COVID-19 in the country, bringing the total number of confirmed cases to 1,119. Officials also confirmed 2 additional deaths, bringing that total up to 17. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Pearl Macmillan also revealed that there are 8 deaths under investigation, 4 on New Providence and 4 on Grand Bahama. She said officials aren't ruling out a complete 2-week lockdown, where food stores and pharmacies are closed the entire time.
I'm hoping we do not have to recommend that kind of a lockdown. But if the lockdown with the, little wiggle room to allow, or with the balance to allow for persons to move about is not working, and we are, just continue to see increasing numbers of cases, continue to see, that persons are, the hospital is being challenged, and all of the other indicators that we are monitoring are not actually looking toward that, a resolution of our COVID-19 situation in country, I would not say that that recommendation would not come forward.
Her comments come as health officials slam Bahamians who they say have not been complying with the lockdown orders.
I think we as a populace can tell with the amount of persons that are out and about, the amount of traffic that we're seeing on the road, that we are definitely seeing more people who are out now than when we had our first wave. And it's very unfortunate that we are taking that approach, because we are now seeing the unfortunate results of that happening as well. We are having much higher cases. We are seeing it's taking a lot longer for us to be able to really approach bending this curve.
Deputy Chief Medical Officer Dr. DeLon Brennan says those who are flouting lockdown rules need to realize they aren't alone, and it's having a negative effect on government's strategy.
If we continue to take this approach where we are partly on lockdown, where we come out because we feel as though it's an emergency to us, and we are going to the food store, we are going to the gas station, but we're just going to make 1 or 2 other stops, and we continue to engage in social activities with others, well, just imagine there are other people from other households who are doing that exact same thing.
Tourism Minister Dionisio de Aguilar slamming rumors of a complete 2-week lockdown. De Aguilar labeled it as social media rubbish and assured Bahamians that this will not happen. Bertha McDermott reports.
The Prime Minister has said it many times. Social media is the source of so much complete and utter rubbish.
Tourism Minister Dionisio de Aguilar dismissing rumors that Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis will place the country on a complete 2-week lockdown, forcing essential businesses including grocery stores and pharmacies to shut down as well. His comments come after a message was circulated on social media.
I'm here to say that is total and complete and utter fake news. The government of the Bahamas is not shutting down the country for 2 weeks. People have to eat, people have to go to pharmacies, people have to move around. There's enough of a restriction in place now that are upsetting people. So we certainly don't want to put in place something that would make absolutely no sense at all. So fake news, rubbish, throw it in the garbage.
The tourism minister's reassurance has been met with skepticism by some. Last month, he assured the public that a rumored 2-week lockdown was not in the cards.
No, there's no, right now, the data as advised by the health professionals last night, we were advised by the health professionals, we don't need to go to a full lockdown. We can have the Monday to Friday scenario.
However, days later, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis gave just 24 hours notice of a 2-week lockdown, with the warning that another 2-week lockdown could follow if necessary. Deputy Chief Medical Officer Dr. DeLon Brennan was also responding to concerns this morning, telling the Nassau Guardian that as COVID-19 cases continue to soar, more restrictions are needed, including on travel.
We need to have an actual functional lockdown where people aren't actually moving around. There's no real reason for us to see what appears to be the same amount of movement and traffic that you would on a day when school is open.
Some Bahamians have questioned the effectiveness of lockdowns. As the current lockdown nears an end, cases continue to skyrocket. It is also a growing concern for businesses that were forced to close for 2 weeks and may have to lay off employees. The Igler acknowledged that the lockdown is dealing a devastating blow to the economy.
Of course it is. You are impeding economic activity in your attempt to bend the curve. Everybody has seen the growth in the numbers every day for the last 2 weeks. And so this is an attempt, painful though it is, to bend the curve, to flatten the curve, and then start the trajectory down. You cannot sell your country as a tourism destination if you have cases growing at this rate.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
An attempted robbery at Hamilton's water depot on Carmichael Road has left 2 men injured. The incident took place shortly after 2 this afternoon. ASP Audley Peters said a man walked up to the establishment attempting to purchase an item. When the employee returned, the man pulled out a gun and demanded cash. That's when another employee stepped in to restrain the suspect.
As the suspect was backing away from the victim, unaware, an employee of the establishment was walking in and saw what was going on. This employee grabbed the suspect from behind. A struggle ensued, and as a result of the struggle, firearm was discharged and the suspect was injured. Apparently, the attendant at the business establishment was also injured in this ordeal. EMS was called in, and both persons were taken to the hospital by EMS.
The condition of both men is not known. ASP Peters encouraged the public to always be vigilant. Meanwhile, rapidly rising unemployment rates are one of the most dramatic consequences of COVID-19 in the Bahamas, according to a recently released report from the Inter-American Development Bank, which recommended the government prioritize expenditure efficiency and prioritize health and safety standards for the tourism industry. Jasmine Brown takes a look.
The 32-page IDB report titled Latin American Caribbean Post-COVID-19 Challenges and Opportunities noted that Caribbean countries are facing historic external shocks in addition to the economic consequences of lockdowns. The report listed COVID-19 data between March 13th and May 20th. It listed the Bahamas among the big 3 tourism destinations, along with Jamaica and Barbados. The report stated lower tourism receipts will have negative externalities on the external sector. The current account balance is expected to fall from 0.6% of GDP in 2019 to negative 12.7% in 2020. The Bahamas has seen a resurgence in cases that have skyrocketed past 1,000 since the borders reopened to international commercial flights on July 1st. With many jobs tied to the tourism sector, the report noted that rapidly rising unemployment rates are one of the most dramatic consequences of COVID-19 in the Bahamas. Although the official figures have not been released, Acting Labor Director John Pinder recently told our news team that unemployment has topped 40%. The IDB report also predicted that along with unemployment, inflation will also increase this year. It stated inflation and unemployment rates are projected to increase in 2020. The IMF projects a rise in the inflation rate of 1.3% in 2019 to 2.4% in 2020. Lower oil prices will exert downward pressure on inflation, while potential disruptions in the supply of goods and services could support higher inflation. It added, despite the reduction of poverty in recent years, COVID-19 is resulting in a large shock to household incomes. The IDB also listed several recommendations to deal with COVID-19 that include adapting to plans for disaster response given health and safety requirements, prioritizing the development of health and safety standards for the tourism industry, prioritizing expenditure efficiency and effectiveness, as well as supporting initiatives that increase digitization of services and reduce red tape. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
A coconut vendor who captured public attention and support after he was arrested and charged 3 times for selling coconut water without a license will avoid spending more time behind bars. He has also found the legal means to operate his business and support his family. Berthany McDermott has the details.
Thanks to the generosity of a few good Samaritans, 20-year-old Marvin Joseph was able to pay an $800 fine just hours before the court's deadline for the first half of that payment. Joseph was charged with violating the COVID-19 emergency powers order by selling coconut water on the side of the road. He now has a Facebook page called Marvin's Coconut Water and Things, where he's now operating from to avoid further arrests. The page has already garnered more than 300 likes. Joseph said he's grateful that he can now support his family legally.
My family, I'm got to eat. I try to make a living for my family, and I've been doing this over a year. I get like 7 sisters and my little girl. I just got to make money.
Joseph, a father of 1 and the oldest of 8 children, says he's the main provider in his household. Today, Joseph was accompanied by community activist Carlos Reed of the Hope Center, Bahamian entertainer Julian Believe, and Shervin Johnson from Evo, Bahamas. After paying the fine, Joseph thanked those who not only paid the fine, but also set up his business page so that his customers can order online.
I just want to thank everyone who been pushing me, supporting me, telling me not to give up. I just want to thank everyone who been helping me out in my family.
With his court troubles now behind him, Joseph is hoping for a brighter future. He says he has already seen growth in his business now that his goods can be picked up at the Hope Center. He had this message for people who may find themselves in similar circumstances.
Keep pushing. Don't give up. Best advice I could give them right now.
On June 24th, Joseph was charged and let off with a warning. On July 24th, he was charged and fined $25. On August 4th, he was charged and fined $800. Reed had this plea for the government.
One of the calls that we call in for is for our government to be more sensitive in this time and relax some of these rules that they're putting on. We don't want our young people on the street getting in problems where they have to be robbing people, thieving people groceries, when they have an opportunity to be able to become young entrepreneurs.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
There's more news on the way, but here's a first look at weather with meteorologist Greg Thompson, who joins me in studio. Good night, Greg.
Thanks, Jared. I'm Greg Thompson, your meteorologist, with our first look at weather. Hot trend continuing around the islands, but those temperatures still managing to stay into the mid-80s. 86 is our current temperature outside our studios. Few clouds, winds are out of the southeast, 4 knots. Feels like temperature around 91 degrees Fahrenheit. Satellite-wise, that high-pressure system continues to dominate our weather, keeping us very quiet. We have some more pop-up showers across the Andros area, a couple of isolated showers across the rest of the islands. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on Our News, what has air traffic controllers up in arms? Stay tuned.
Rev up in the next promotion. Okay. Nice.
Bye. You give up it.
Best 2 out of 3.
Sign up for Rev Trio and opt in to NBA League Pass absolutely free. Visit rev.bs or call 601-8992 for details. Rev, you and us, together.
Though they aren't threatening strike action just yet, air traffic controllers are pleading for their elevator to be fixed swiftly as workers have to climb 15 floors to get to their workspace. Julian Gray has that.
After over 3 months of having to climb nearly 15 flights of stairs, the air traffic controllers say something must be done to fix the elevator, as many of their members are now presenting with health challenges.
An issue for some of them. We have staff complaining now of leg issues, back injuries, some of the older staff as well, some of the younger ones, even some of the most fit ones that you would expect to be able to do this. After a period of time now, it's beginning to have an issue.
Secretary General of the Bahamas Air Traffic Controllers Union, Arnolette Pierre, said they were told that the refurbishment of the aging elevator would take 6 weeks. However, it has now been 15 weeks. More than 20 flights move in and out of New Providence each day, including Medivac flights. Pierre said their 75 workers would not want to hinder movement by going on strike.
We don't want to put the country on hostage. The airport right now is one of the few places that is still allowing some kind of normalcy, some kind of income to a lot of people. And so therefore, we would never take the stance to hold the country hostage. That's not what this is. but at the same time, there are tools that we need to have in place for us to be able to do our jobs.
The elevator failed its inspection by the Ministry of Works, and Pierre said they've been advised that a partial certificate can be issued, but the use of the elevator will be at the employee's own risk, which Pierre said they're not prepared to accept. Aviation Minister Dionisio Diagler said he does not know why it has taken so long and agrees that it is a vexing problem.
No minister of the government can get the elevator fixed. This is clearly an issue between the management and the company that provides that service, and I don't know for whatever reason that there hasn't been able to get it sorted. But I guess we'll just have to wait until. We'll just have to wait until they get it sorted out in order to bring it to a conclusion. But they're naturally frustrated, and I agree with them.
Reporting for our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
45 police officers are said to be in quarantine after potentially being exposed to the COVID-19 virus, according to Commissioner Paul Roll. He told reporters yesterday that while there was a point when over 100 officers were in home isolation, that number has since decreased.
Today, 45. Yeah, that number fluctuates. It goes up, comes down because of the time period. Officers come out of quarantine, and if officers are exposed, then they go in.
Several police stations throughout the capital had to be closed in recent weeks for deep cleaning and sanitization following exposure to the virus. Roll said in dealing with civilians on a day-to-day basis, officers are bound to be exposed.
This is policing. These are first responders, and there is always that inherent risk of becoming infected. You can do all and put everything in place, and you can still be exposed. That's just a risk, but we do everything possible to mitigate and to prevent as much as possible the exposure.
While some schools have decided to open in the fall with in-class learning for students, those within the Anglican education system will operate online for the first few weeks. Kyle Joaquin has more.
In exactly 1 month, students of St. John's College, one of 4 local Anglican schools, will get back to the books, but not in the classroom, at least for the first 3 weeks.
During times of hurricanes, storms, any natural disasters, we follow whatever the Ministry of Education does for their schools. And so we'll be doing the same thing, fully virtual.
For the first 3 weeks of school, beginning September 14th, all students at Anglican schools in your province, Grand Bahama and Exuma will begin classes online. And in October, the slow transition to the classroom will begin.
Pre-K to grade 2 will spend 2 days on campus, 2 full days, and then the other days they're in their virtual space, and then grades 3 to 6 will spend 3 days on campus and then 2 days in the virtual space. And at the high school level, grades 7 to 9 will spend 2 days on campus.
The schools include St. John's and St. Anne's on your province, Bishop Michael Eldon on Grand Bahama, and St. Andrews on Exuma. Once the blended model takes effect in October, there will be some major changes. During the course of the day, physical distancing will be enforced with what officials call supervised play for students. And another change, school drop-off and pickups for parents.
When they come on the campus, their parents will not walk them to their classrooms.
The decision on whether to allow students in classes amid a global pandemic has been a tough one for school districts all over, especially in the U.S., which saw some schools reopen and close within a matter of days. But with students out of class for the first few weeks of school and returning for only a few days just after, we asked officials how this would impact school fees.
We haven't made a decision yet because, as we said, we're talking about fully virtual only for the first 3 weeks of school.
Teachers are working on their class lessons to ensure that the virtual lessons that they will be receiving are of very good standard and quality, and they will stay connected with their children so that when they do come in for the blended or the hybrid phase of their learning, they would be quite comfortable with one another.
Education officials encourage the students and parents to remain positive.
If we can all remember that we are blessed beyond measure because we are fearfully and wonderfully made.
For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Still to come, the challenges students with Down syndrome face in a COVID era. Stay tuned.
Rev up on the next promotion. Okay. Nice.
Bye. You give up it.
Best 2 out of 3.
Sign up for Rev Trio and opt in to NBA League Pass absolutely free. Visit rev.bs or call 601-8992 for details. Rev, you and us, together.
Welcome back. What form will learning take for students who have special needs this September? Well, the founder of the Bahamas Down Syndrome Center said the future remains unclear. George O'Bain reports.
With many schools still uncertain how they will begin the new school year, founder here at the Bahamas Down Syndrome Center says she's also not sure how the new school year will look for her students. She says she knows one thing, that they learn best from face-to-face learning.
As far as actually full-blown opening, that's going to be a while, I think. I would probably shoot for maybe January.
The plan for late September is smaller class sessions that will leave over 20 special needs persons ages 4 to 50 out of their classroom routine. Founder Cheryl Newton says this will undoubtedly present challenges.
Our kids have been out from March, the middle of March, and they forget very easily. So, it's almost going to be like starting over again when they do come in and like relearning them and their habits.
She added many of the children suffer from respiratory issues. Therefore, it won't be easy getting them to keep on their masks. As for their educational needs, Newell said students with special needs present a completely different learning curve and they don't comprehend social distancing as well as others.
Unfortunately, for our special needs kids, learning for them is a completely different curve than a normal child in a normal setting. And unfortunately, our children, they don't really comprehend social distancing because they're so connected and we call them the love doctors because that's all they know how to do is hug and love and show affection. So that's our first challenge is social distancing.
Research has shown that students with special needs are virtual learners. However, that requires guidance that many won't get at home, according to Newell.
Virtual learning is a challenge because there's no one that at home that would probably be able to follow up or help them, guide them with the virtual learning.
As they chart their way forward, Newell said it's taking a toll on teachers and students who miss being a part of each other's day. Reporting for our News, I'm Georgie O'Bain.
The Grand Bahama Port Authority has launched a digital food voucher program in the Canoe Pays app to support the efforts of the Grand Bahama Food Distribution Task Force, which provides food for the most vulnerable families on that island. The Port Authority also donated $25,000, enabling program recipients to shop at local grocery stores. GBPA President Ian Rolls said the island is experiencing many long-lasting effects brought on by Hurricane Dorian and now the COVID-19 pandemic. Through this collaborative effort, he said the Port Authority can help to support local businesses. Still to come, Teen Challenge sees an increased demand for help. We have the details when we come back.
Rev up on the next promotion. Okay. Nice.
Bye. You give up it.
Best 2 out of 3.
Sign up for Rev Trio and opt in to NBA League Pass absolutely free. Visit rev.bs or call 601-8992 for details. Rev, you and us, together.
With no apparent end in sight for the coronavirus pandemic, Director of Teen Challenge Bahamas, Eric Fox, says the demand is increasing for nonprofits that house the homeless and substance abusers. Fox says as unemployment continues to climb, so does the number of people seeking help from Teen Challenge. He called the situation worrying.
It's just pressure. A lot of young men are under pressure, And I don't want to be a prophet of doom, and I don't want to even say this, but we can be in some serious problems in a little while if something is not done seriously to really boost this economy and help some people, man.
Fox says while Teen Challenge takes in those who have no place to rest their heads at night or abuse substances, they also have to be extra cautious in the COVID-19 era.
I am appealing to the public, the medical personnel, medical people. See if you can help me. I want to take people off the streets. I want the police to be able to call me if it is domestic disturbance and a young man needs to be moved out of the situation, or they meet a young man and his situation is really legit.
And that's a look at news. We throw it back to meteorologist Greg Thompson for the extended weather forecast.
Thanks again, Jared. I'm meteorologist Greg Thompson with your second look at weather. Satellite-wise, quiet across the islands, some isolated showers and thunderstorms popping up across the Andros area, but all eyes are now on Josephine. It's a tropical storm moving towards the west-northwest at about 20 miles per hour, 40 mile per hour winds. Should stay to the east of the islands and move out into the open Atlantic. Your boating forecast for the northwest Bahamas through tonight and tomorrow. East to southeast winds 10 to 15 knots, seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. For the southeast Bahamas, an easterly flow 15 knots, 3 to 5 foot seas expected. Here's a look now at your national forecast. And now look at your extended forecast through Wednesday. That's a look at your weather. Make it a great night, everyone.
Thank you for joining us for our news tonight. To catch our news on the go, download the Rev Go Play app. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Jared Higgs. Have a beautiful weekend, Bahamas.